What's up, you guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Ask Alex Show. I am so glad to come back and do this show. It has been a couple months since I've been able to do this show. I am so sorry that I haven't been able to put out any movie commentary throughout the last couple months. I just been going through like a transition with my content, and also just getting back into everyday life now that the world is opening back up. But I am so glad to come back and do this show. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't get Jeremy or Ian to be on the show today, but the next Ask Alex show, I can guarantee I can at least get one, if not both of them, on the show. But guys, I'm so glad you guys keep coming back, and I'm so glad you guys still hit up that email. And then, speaking of that email, if you want your question or topic on this show, it's very simple, guys. Send me an email at theaskalexshow@gmail.com. That's theaskalexshow@gmail.com. If you submit your topic or question, more than likely it will be answered here on my show. And guys, again, I want to thank you so much for your support and love, because you have been blowing up that email as new things come out. I just haven't been able to answer due to the fact of getting my things back in order. Some new stuff has come out, so I'm super excited, which we'll get mentioned on later on in the show. And guys, guess what? If you can't watch the show right now, or as I'm airing it now on my YouTube channel, you can listen to it on Spotify. Yes, the Ask Alex Show is made in audio podcast form on Spotify. Now that we've gotten that out the way, you guys, let's go ahead and jump into the first topic of today. And please forgive me, this is my first time recording the Ask Alex Show in literally about 2.5 months. So I'm getting back into the swing of things. So the first question comes from a Mr. Keith Beers, one of my coworkers, and he writes, "Hey Alex, so Tom Holland has stated that the next Spider-Man movie should focus on Miles Morales. Do you think that Spider-Man 4 will introduce Miles Morales into the MCU?" Well, thank you for your topic. Thank you for your question, Mr. Keith. Now, what Keith is referring to over the last month or so with Spider-Man No Way Home and the introduction of the different Spider-Man from the different universe, and then there have been hints that Miles Morales is around, but we haven't like really seen him, right? So if we take it back to the first Spider-Man movie in the MCU, Spider-Man Homecoming, Aaron Davis was introduced into the universe, which is Miles' uncle. In the deleted scenes of that film, Aaron Davis actually calls Miles and say, "Hey, I'm not able to make it home due to me getting locked up or whatever." So Miles has been mentioned in the MCU, but not necessarily like we've never really seen what a Miles Morales looks like. In Spider-Man No Way Home, Jamie Foxx even said, with all the different multiverses out there might be a black Spider-Man out there in reference to Miles Morales. Now, to your question, do I think that they will introduce Miles Morales in the future Spider-Man, the Spider-Man 4 movie within the MCU? To be honest, a part of me says yes, and a part of me is like, I'm not so sure. And the reason why I say that is because Tom Holland has been on record and said that, listen, as of right now, he's had conversations, but they have been very minimum preliminary conversations about coming back as Spider-Man. And also, he has made the statements before that, the next Spider-Man movie should be a transition into introducing Miles Morales, because he is essentially the successor of Peter Parker. Now, what Sony has been able to do with Miles Morales, with the Miles Morales animated movies, has been phenomenal. I mean, we're getting Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I believe, this year, part 1 of that. So I just can't wait to see what they're going to do with that. But to see a live action Miles Morales movie, or be introduced into the MCU in Spider-Man 4, I would like to see that as a Spider-Man fan. Like, that's one of my favorite Spider-Man. I would definitely love to see him introduced into the movie. But will he be introduced? I'm not so sure, because we don't know what the deal is going to look like between Sony and Marvel. This was essentially Sony's last film, or Sony's last film with Marvel in terms of having Spider-Man into the MCU. Now, it's been reported that Tom Holland does have one more appearance as Spider-Man in a Avengers team up movie or MCU team up movie. We just don't know what that is. They say it could be Multiverse of Madness. They say it could be Avengers 5. They say it could be something down the pipeline. I'm not so sure, but we'll see at least one more appearance from Tom Holland before we see a new set of films from him. So again, to your question, I would love to see that. I think he should be the vocal point of the next Spider-Man film if they transition and give him the reins, or at least start something brewing where we get to see that character live action on screen. But I don't know, anything is possible, especially in this universe. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think that Miles Morales could be introduced into Spider-Man 4 in the up and coming MCU Spider-Man movies? Just jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Now let's go ahead and jump into the next question. The next question comes from a reoccurring guest, Miss Iris Peoples. By the way, before we jump into the question, Iris, thank you so much for being a faithful member of the Ask Alex show and also the Momentum Media wave that we've been able to create. During the off time I was preparing for other content, you have been sending a boatload of questions, and I do appreciate your loyalty and continue to sending us awesome questions. So we do appreciate you for sending those questions. Now let's go and jump into your question. She writes, "Hey Alex, so WB is getting sued over Matrix 4 being released in HBO Max. Do you think this lawsuit is necessary given the circumstances that the world was facing these last 2 years?" Well, thank you for your question, Iris. So if you guys don't know, it was being reported earlier today that Warner Brothers is being sued for putting HBO Max, putting Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrection on HBO Max. Essentially, what it's saying is that it didn't get its theatrical run like other movies, and the movie in itself lost money, not just in the theaters, but also putting it on streaming. Now, to your question, you're asking me, do I think it's necessary for WB being sued over this? And if I'm being honest, yes. Yes, because here's the thing. And I kind of liken it to what I stated earlier during the beginning stages of our world crisis, right? Putting these $1 million tentpole movies on streaming services did nothing for the studio. They lost money. Every movie that went to a streaming service that had the intentions of being in the theater lost money. Even the Disney Marvel movies, Black Widow, lost money. Even Mulan, that was the first that came out, lost money. All of the HBO Max and theater simultaneous release, all of those movies lost money. Mortal Kombat probably was the only one that got a green light to make a sequel amongst the other movies that came out that had, like, for instance, King Richard, somewhat of a good movie, but it lost money because it was on HBO Max. Same thing with Kong versus Godzilla. Same thing with Wonder Woman 84. I mean, there were so many things that came out over that course of time that lost money. So do I think WB should have been sued over some of those properties? And my answer to that is absolutely, because Spider-Man No Way Home didn't have a streaming service to go to, and look at the money that it made. You know, same thing with Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi didn't go to Disney Plus and theaters. It just went to theaters and it made some money. Eternals, same thing. You know, so when you look at movies that have come out that didn't have a simultaneous streaming service release, they made their money. Now, granted, keep in mind the world crisis. I'm refusing to say the other word so I don't get dinged on YouTube. But what we were going through during that time, you know, there were other movies that came out that made money. Venom made $90 million its first weekend. You know, so Venom 2 is definitely a better film than, you know, the previous one. But let's be clear, Venom 2 probably would have made more money if we weren't in the situation that we're in. Same thing with these other films that could have come out. So And by its merit, yes, I can understand why WB is being sued. Now, I guarantee you, this won't go to trial. They'll definitely settle. They'll settle on a certain amount, or they'll settle on something. But I do know this, that at one point, Legendary was suing Warner Brothers, and Legendary is on the lot of Warner Brothers. So, I mean, I understand where some of these studios and producers and directors are feeling some type of way about their projects being on streaming services, but I also understand on somewhat of the studio side saying that, the general public, most of us couldn't go to the theaters, or we're not going to go to the theaters because of this current situation, right? But as things started to lift and as the restrictions started to lift, people were going to the theaters. I know for a fact when I went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home, my theater was packed full of people and there was no social distancing. And not just with that, but with same thing with when I went to go see Venom, same thing when I went to go see Shang-Chi. There was no social distancing. So for me, there was a lot of money that was being lost by putting it on streaming services. I've said that if they continue this model, theaters are just going to go out of business, and we won't see any major movie blockbusters come out in the same way that they have been coming out over the course of years. So, I'm in support of this. Unfortunately, hey, it is what it is. And keep in mind, Matrix 4 is definitely not in my opinion, it's definitely not a movie I would have paid to go see in theaters. However, there is a fan base for it where people would have paid money to go see it in theaters. So I understand why the people who feel this way are suing Warner Brothers. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this lawsuit is necessary? Do you think Warner Brothers should not be taking a hit for this? Jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Now let's go ahead and jump into the last and final question. And the last and final question comes from a Larry Barnes. And Mr. Barnes writes, "Hey guys, after seeing Charlie Cox in Spider-Man No Way Home, when do you think we'll see him again?" Well, thank you for your question, Mr. Larry. Spoiler alert, Charlie Cox is in Spider-Man No Way Home, just like Tobey Maguire, just like Andrew Garfield, those lying mother suckers. Charlie Cox was in Spider-Man No Way Home. Now I want to point out, it was good seeing him in the movie, but Charlie Cox's role didn't necessarily provide anything to the MCU. What I mean by that is that him being in Spider-Man No Way Home didn't necessarily it did not necessarily add any value, other than it made us wonder when is the next time we're going to see him. Now, obviously we saw Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin in Hawkeye, right? So obviously those two actors are back in the MCU fold. Now, there have been rumors prior to him being in Spider-Man No Way Home that we could see a Daredevil standalone movie within the MCU, or we could see him in his own Disney Plus series, or we can see him sprinkled in other different movies or team up things. Now, I would love to see Daredevil in the next Spider-Man movie, or I would love to see Daredevil in the Avengers, or they make their own cinematic Defenders movie, or make him a part of the Young Avengers or something of that nature. But the next time I think we'll see Daredevil will probably be in the next Disney Plus series, or we'll probably get an announcement that Daredevil will be coming to the MCU in his own film. I'm more so willing to watch a Daredevil film, because we've gotten the series. We got 3 seasons of great Daredevil TV on Netflix. And then we did get a movie back in the early 2000s. So I would love to see Daredevil in his own film versus his own series. That's just me. I think though the next time we'll see him will be more so in a team up movie. Now, Charlie Cox has stated that he is eager to portray that character even more in the MCU. And also Kevin Feige has announced that he is our Daredevil, and also given the fact that we saw him in Spider-Man No Way Home. But I think what you do with that character now, he's been reimagined in the MCU. I think we give him either a good movie, a really good 90 minute to 2 hour movie, or let's just give him a Disney Plus series and make it, if not similar to the Netflix movies, you know, something almost identical. Like, because the Netflix show that they did with Charlie Cox, oh my God, it was just freaking amazing. Every season of that was really good. So I'm hoping to see, we'll see Charlie Cox in the next team up, or maybe the next Spider-Man movie. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think we'll see him in the next Spider-Man movie? Do you think we'll see him in other MCU movies? Or do you think he'll get his own Disney Plus series or his own feature film? Just jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And that will do it for today's show, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Ask Alex Show. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you get all the updates of every time I'm releasing a video here on my YouTube channel. Guys, real quick, Real Debate Season 3 is here. If you haven't already seen it, the first episode is up on my YouTube channel, where me and Ian go at each other. The topic was the best Eddie Murphy movie, so you definitely want to check that out. Great match. Tune in this week for a new episode of Real Debates. It's Alex Snow versus Ian. The topic is, I believe, what is the best buddy cop movie? You don't want to miss it. For our Patreon supporters, that episode will be up tomorrow. For everyone else, it will be up this Friday. So if you want to watch Real Debates Season 3 Episode 2 early, you can watch it early on my Patreon. You have to be a supporter on our Patreon, but to the rest of the world, you'll see it on Friday at 1 p.m. every Friday. Also, every Thursday we have a new show called Momentum Nights, where it's basically a late night comedy talk show. You don't want to miss it. There's musical performances, there's cinematic things, there's a lot of stuff. You don't want to miss it. That's every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I got a lot of things going on within the Momentum verse, and I thank you guys so much for watching all of my content. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, you guys have a blessed day.